Good morning, everybody. We were told that either we'd have two people in here to help us get things started or we have to do it ourselves. So I think we have to do it ourselves. So we were asked to remind everybody that there are um, some pieces of paper in the room to fill out, as well as some continuing education type things that you can take care of. I was told to turn off your cell phones. Um, Ryan, I'm going to call you out. I can see you smiling back there. Your phone's going to be ringing. Um, so anyway, we're going to be showing you a little bit of our latest and greatest work within the community colleges that we've been working with, sharing some of the updates with Kimon, Onuma, and Jim Grossi from CSW. Um, this is going to be live. You're going to be seeing some things up here. Some of this is halfway scripted, so bear with us at times because we're going to be showing you some things that are live from the databases. We'll be showing you some fixed slides so we can tell some story, but we're going to go live with it then too. This is coming together. Some of the latest advances from yesterday are being showed today. So a lot of what's really exciting and why we're excited about sharing this is it's constantly growing. We're constantly finding ways that we're being able to grab more data, more information, and advance what's happening. Yesterday, Fred Harris had done some introduction to what's happening within the systems, the Onuma Fusion and GIS systems and the updates, and he'll be in here with us at the end of the presentation. He's actually double booked right now, so he's doing the beginning of another one and the end of ours. So he'll be joining us at the end of the presentation. But so again, with me, Kimon Onuma and Jim Grossi. We're looking forward to sharing you a little bit of our story and what we're working on and where we see things going in the future here. Come on.
Thanks, Rob, and good morning, everybody. So I'm an architect, actually, but I've been working with the Fusion system, connecting it to the Onuma system. So we've developed these tools that help kind of connect the dots between a lot of different tools. And the thing that excites me most about all this work is not the fact that the technology is cool or anything like that. It's really about connecting people and being able to have that conversation. So it shouldn't really be about what's the best tool to do A, B, and C. It's really a mixture of tools. Just like you work on the internet, you pull what you need on your iPhone or your iPad and you start looking for Starbucks, for example. It should be as simple as that. The tools have to be simple enough that more people can touch it, and therefore the information gets more valuable. How many of you have heard, you heard a little bit from Fred yesterday about disruptive innovation. Have you heard this term before? It's turning our world upside down as we're watching it. These tablets are basically replacing desktops, for example, completely. We would never have imagined this was going to happen 2 years ago. So if you look ahead, imagine where we're going to be a few years from now or 5 years from now. Disruptive innovation is even referenced in these documents about disrupting college. How's the educational system going to be disrupted? Just like there were disruptions in Egypt with people using Facebook to communicate and create a revolution. So revolutions are happening before our eyes, and the message really about our presentation is that we all have to be part of that, because if you sit back and watch it go by, it is going to pass you by. So what we're going to see today with the work that STVVBN and CSW has been doing is really part of this disruption. You're going to see it right in front of your eyes. This is happening right now, and it's very exciting to see from our perspective. What's happening with these projects. It's really they've been the leaders at being able to jump in and, more importantly, to share. Because in this world, the more you close down and don't share your information, the less relevant you are. You might lose a little bit in competition, but if you're not part of this ecosystem, you no longer exist. That's really, you have to jump in. That's the message really here. So Fusion, as you heard from Fred, and as you know from your work, has been a database that's been online for a long time. There's a lot of modules to it. The foundational thing about Fusion is that it creates this basic standard that other things can plug into, other tools, and that's what we did with the Onuma system, being able to use it in a web-based environment in simple format, and being able to plug and play different modules. And this is happening. You'll see later on the GIS, Geographic Information System, or data from CSW, how that plugs into this modular approach. There's no single application that does it all. Therefore, you have to have this plug-and-play mentality. And that's how the internet works. You don't just go to one website. You use a lot of different tools to get to your airline reservation system. And that's how this really should work. A lot of different views of it as well, too. No single user has to touch everything to be able to kind of get to your information really quickly. Web services, Fred touched on it yesterday too. Web services allows you to plug and play different tools together, and that's exactly how Fusion and Onuma and GIS and a lot of the other sensor data that you're going to see later on are working together. It's not a single database. In other words, it's a collection of systems like Fred mentioned, and the most important thing is that layer at the top. You don't want just the techies to get to the data. You want everybody that has knowledge about planning and design and facility management to be able to touch that data. So a lot of different groups working together on this. And you see the names up here, and this list is rapidly growing, and it creates new opportunities for those that want to jump in. So the Fusion system that you'll see here in a second, it's a graphical interface. The Onuma system is a graphical interface to the Fusion data that allows you to make these kind of decisions. So with that, should we switch over to Jim?
Okay, I'm Jim Grossi, civil engineer with CSW Stuber Stoeh. Most of the work that we do, I think we've joked about this before, you never see because it's under the ground. What we're trying to do here is develop a tool, and we have developed it, that lets you visualize the underground utilities, and we've developed it into an asset management program that maps and displays all of the available information, PDFs, as-builts, record sets that you have in your system. This data, it can be web-based, it can be hosted on a website, or it can be put on a flash drive, and it's easily interfaced with the Fusion Onuma system. There are two parts of the system, and the first part of it is we call it Super. It's Site Utility Plan Room. I hope this is not a plan room from someone in the audience here. It could be like one. I think we've all seen them. We've even had one we had to put dust masks on to go into them. So what we can do is take this whole system and put it onto a flash drive at the very minimum, or we can put it into a web server, and basically most of your facilities people, your planners, don't have to go back into that plan room again. The next phase of this is called Landmark. Landmark is a system that takes the super portion of it and all of the plans, and is an interactive tie between super and the real world using Google Earth. We can open this in Google Earth. It allows owners and asset managers, planners, maintenance personnel, and contractors to quickly locate, view, read, and print records about any underground system that we've scanned into the program. Both Super and Landmark are geo-referenced using the California State Plane Coordinate System. And then one feature of Landmark allows us to use GPS locators such as smartphones and tablets to actually go out and follow the blue dot and find some of the utilities in the field. An important part of what we do is we can put all kinds of plans into an electronic system, but the accuracy is what's really important. So we differentiate between whether we've actually verified it in the field or whether it's just off of a set of record sets or plans. Now I'll give a little quick demonstration. We've got a...
So why we're taking the time to quickly show you what Jim's group has been doing is because it is a perfect example of a third party outside of Fusion developing data and information. Jim's group has gone into many community colleges, grabbed their plan rooms, digitized those plans at the very least, and has brought them into some software that he's going to show you now that puts it geolocated on the site, and you can see that information live. And in some cases, he'll show you, you can grab that information, it links to that plan room then, as he'll click on something and show it. We've then, and what we'll show you in a second, we've been able then to take that information, bring it into Onuma. So again, another layer of level of information that we're able to access as we're doing planning and or otherwise that the district can look at. There's the infrastructure, there are the buildings, there's the Fusion data, all of it is accessible, but it's separate databases. It's not all sitting in one place.
And what we do is concentrate on everything outside of the buildings and all of the utilities, but it all interfaces with the Onuma and the Fusion system. The first part I'll open up here and is a key map that shows, basically just to get us oriented, and then a legend. Now the legend shows what we have in here. We have per plan across the top and then verified. Verified means we've gone out in the field. It's pretty easy to verify a storm drain line, for instance, because it usually goes from a catch basin to a manhole to whatever structure. Sanitary is somewhat the same way. Gas lines, electric and all, takes a little bit more work, and we have to have a little bit better idea. If we've done the engineering, we've got the plans, we know it went in the ground, then we can verify it. If we can't verify it, we put it over into the other column, which is per plan. Means there was an as-built done, there was a record set done when the plans were done, and that gives you a pretty good idea. This is basically what we have here. You know, let's see. You can zoom into just about anywhere you want, and we have a hyperlink that you can hyperlink to various plans. This one, for instance, if you look at the hyperlink on there, it says 1977 0627 Solano Community Building 800 and Building 1300, and all I've got to do is click that, and I've got the full set of plans that's in your plan room now sitting on the screen. And this has got 26 sheets, so you've got all 26 sheets in here. Now this one, you'll notice there's quite a few building plans. We don't normally do that with the civil part, but in this case, it was all intermixed in the original plans. So you can go through and get all of the original plans without ever having to go back to your hanging files or your plan room. There are several. There's some real old ones. We've got in this set of plans. There are chilled water returns. There's air pressure systems. There's all of the power lines, and at the bottom of the we have the latitudes and longitudes that are part of the California coordinate system. If you see as I move the cursor around, the latitude and longitude changes, and this follows through to the next phase, which is the object data, and then into Google Earth. I know Bob Thompson here has got a camera now that's got a GPS locator on it, and we're working to get that factored in here so that when he finds things out in the field that might not be exactly the way the plans show them, he could take a picture, email it to us, and we can update, you know, the system as quickly as we can. We have another part of this is basically the same base map again, and this is called object data, and it gives you a little bit more information. There's a small cursor that we hit, and you can click on it, and there it goes. Basically, you can click on various things. There's a water pipe. It's an ACP pipe, 8-inch. We can go down into another area. It's a 68-foot length of pipe. It tells you that it's 6-inch. It's a vitrified clay pipe, sewer pipe. You can put an unlimited amount of information on these, and we're still working on this. In this area here, chilled water pipes. It's a supply line. You'd have to zip in a little closer to see which one. There's a hot water line. It says hot water line on here. And you can go you put all of the information into this object data that you want, and it basically gives you kind of a quick idea. Here's a sewer pipe. It gives you the 74-foot length. The datum, there was 3 or 4 different datums with different plans on this campus, and we've had to basically rectify all of those. The flow direction, the invert downstream, upstream, it's PVC pipe, it's sewer, it's 6-inch, it's got a 2-inch slope, and then all of the structures are numbered, and so this tells which number it goes from and to. We are also developing an asset management part of this where we've been asked to come up with establishing the value of all of these improvements that are underground, for future replacement, so that you can put those kind of numbers into your budgets and your future planning. We're in that spreadsheet. We have the date that it was installed, the type of pipe. On this campus, there's some vitrified clay pipe that can be a little brittle, so that's important to know. There's also ACP pipe, which has some hazardous materials to it, so we can identify where they are and put all of that information in. And again, the bottom line is we've got the latitude and longitudes again. Now, the other part that I talked about was the Google Earth portion, the landmark. Landmark is basically opens it in Google Earth. I'm usually not quick enough when I run right into the swimming pool here, but my finger's not quick. But that's basically the whole Fairfield Solano campus. And on the left side, we have the two categories that we've divided this into. Now, we can go three. We did UCSF Mission Bay, and on that one, we had three categories. We had per plan, or the record set, verified in the field, and then master plan. We can put the master plan in here fairly easily and then have a separate category. Zero in on this, and again, the latitude and longitudes are across the bottom. But you zero in on this and use your cursor. Here's a storm drain pipe. It brings up all of the data information, and you can add more information. I mean, this has got, it's a storm drain pipe, it's RCP, 21 inch, got all the elevations and the structures. What you can do, for instance, click a fire hydrant and then put in all the flow data and then update that flow data every year when you flow test it, so that all the information can be into this system.
So as a third party that's coming into gathering data, and even within Jim's software, there's levels of data that he's been able to access, whether it's coming directly from the district, from Google. He's gathering data. Now, on our end, what we've been doing is also then grabbing Jim's data, and we're utilizing that data as we want to connect to different elements of it as well.
All right, so what was significant about what Jim just showed is that we just received, a couple of weeks ago, we saw that this was going on. Actually, okay, there we go. With the GIS data, and let's see, where are we with? This is actually live. I have a recording, but it's probably better to show it live. So what was significant, as this is opening up, we saw the work that Jim was doing with GIS, and we saw that it was in Google Earth. We saw that he had it available in a GIS format in Esri, and we were able to then say, okay, what if we bring this in as a web services? Web services means that it goes and grabs the data and places it inside the Fusion Onuma interface. So we're not recreating it. We're saying you have great GIS data. We want to see it in context of the Solano campus. And that's exactly what we did. And it does not take very long. This is the great thing about web services. You start plugging and playing. It's like on the web when you start using different tools and you put a YouTube video inside your website. It's basically, that's it. It's as simple as that in many cases. And this is a view of the Solano campus now. And if I turn some things off here, you see that there's a lot of different layers here. And one of the layers is about the mapping in the background. This is a GIS map from Esri. And then we said, okay, from the Fusion server, we're hitting one server now and saying, show us a 100-year floodplain. This is one server, two servers, GIS, floodplains, and then now I'm going to hit Jim's server and say, show me your utility lines. So here come the utility lines, exact same data he showed. In other words, if he's updating it, I don't have to say, send me the latest utility lines. I see the utility lines that can then be used for planning exercises. So then I put my buildings on top of that. So now we're seeing the Fusion data with the Fusion buildings in Onuma with his utility lines. And the exercise is we need to place a new building here. Where are we going to place this building? And you can start placing a building and saying, how is it going to fit with the utility lines? And all of that is basically in BIM. It's a Revit model. We're pulling utility lines that Jim started into the Onuma system, into Revit if we want, with the building and continue running on with the Fusion data. So it's basically gathering all the data I need, starting to work, and this happens within minutes. It's literally just a minute, go and grab it. And if he updates it, then the updates happens automatically as well too. There's a lot more to this, but that's basically it. If you think of this ecosystem that's being developed as, we don't want to have a bunch of silos where we have to go find this data and find that data and say what version is it, and now we have to import and export, and am I importing the right version? It's all just right there at your fingertips. So then you get to spend more time on the fun stuff, on the design and decision making and collaborating on project decisions. So pretty exciting stuff.
I think the analogy that Kimon's used in the past, which is really good, is the airline of booking a ticket. And I think you've all seen it when you go to Travelocity or Expedia and you say, I want a flight to Denver. In the background, it opens up like 3 or 4 other websites because it's gathering other people's data. It's not theirs, but it certainly appears that it's theirs, but they're grabbing other people's data. And that is a great value to you because you're not going to each one of those airlines and pinging, I want to fly to Denver, show me your flights, show me your flights. So it's the same thing here. We're just connecting the links, and in the background, it's grabbing all that data and showing it. I wanted to, we're going to jump around. We're live, and going to be try to be a little flexible with us here. So yeah, please do. Well, I'll show you some examples of where we're doing some things. The best thing about this is it's scalable. You can start really small, connect to some more data, connect to some more data, connect to some more data. So I'm going to show you some examples of where we're doing that. If you don't get a good feel of it after we're done, let me know and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So what I'm going to run you through are, I'll actually go back to my presentation real quick here. Start with the basics. The most basic level that you've heard a lot about is we've got this wonderful Fusion database of all the rooms within districts, the programs that are within there. Jump in here. So this is what Fusion looks like when you go into it now. You look at the building, you get a list of rooms or a building on the side. You get a list of the rooms that are in the building, the types of programs that are in there. It's a lot of information, and you don't necessarily need all that depending on what you're looking for. You may be looking for a room and how big is that room? I need to confirm it. This may be more than you want at the time. So what we're capable of doing now with the interface between Onuma and Fusion is that this is now how you see that data. And in this case, I've just said, I just want to see the floor plan. So it's showing me the floor plan through a BIM model that we quickly created, just walls and doors and put the spaces into it. But this is the Fusion data simplified down to, I just want to see the rooms in the building. I don't need to see the full list of all the information. At the same time, I could, and this is not live right now, in this case, I pulled down something on the side and said, show me Fusion data in the floor plan, but tell me where there's discrepancies between what Fusion says I have in my room and what fits in the floor plan. So in this case, anything red up here has got a variance of greater than 10% between what fit into the floor plan and what the Fusion data is saying. These are things we want to correct. As you're looking to show your justifications for additional space or projects, you want to make sure this data is correct so that your cap loads are showing the correct information. In this case here, it was a matter of looking at the programs that are in those spaces. Now, I didn't enter that data, and in this case, I didn't even tell what colors. It picked colors for us, but I said, show me the programs in this building. That's all I'm looking at here. I'm not looking at anything more of that. That's all in Fusion right now. I didn't have to go through that list, but graphically, I can now see that. So that's the basics. We can link to Fusion in a way that graphically shows it to you and shows the data that you want in a pull down rather than having to look at all the information at one time and trying to figure out what you want is within that. So I'm going to take you through a series of projects we're working on right now with this team, in many cases exactly this team, to show you some case studies and talk a little bit about how we connect some of this information. Kimon was just showing the Solano campus. One of the things that we did at this campus was much like Jim was talking about. You go in and there are literally rolls of drawings on shelves. Well, knowing that we wanted to implement Onuma in the Fusion system at the campus, we created very quick 3-4 hours time BIM models of each of the buildings, just walls and doors, room names, but the spaces are per as-built documents. We could have gone to a greater level of detail, but didn't want to at this time to go and verify even again, gee, is it actually 16 feet across or is it 16 feet 2 for the as-builts? That's a level of variance that we can pick up later. But then once we've got that as-built, that floor plan, we took the spaces that are in Fusion, graphically linked them to that BIM model. So now we're able to see the Fusion data in a floor plan. The next level of information we did with many times in master planning or any is the facilities assessment of going into those spaces, walking into each room, looking at the ceiling, the floor, the mechanical systems, and looking at it. So we worked with Onuma in developing an iPad app where our teams went out into the site with iPads, went into a room. I'm in room 101 and had a pull down, much like you see on the side here in the pink and green and yellow. Probably zoom in a little bit here, where you're seeing wall types, floor types. It's a pull down. You click it, select it, it's carpet. Condition, good, poor, needs to be replaced. This is the level of information that Solano now has in a database that's their data, which is linking to the Fusion data through Onuma. So all these different databases of information are coming together. In this case here, what you're seeing now is graphical indication of that data. Show me the rooms and their finishes. Rooms with carpet, vinyl, linoleum, concrete. Now we're able to see those things. And why would that be important? It's great I can see where there's carpet. But where we're grabbing that data now is we're saying, okay, well, I know in this building I may have 15,000 square feet of carpet. Well, what's it take to maintain carpet over the course of a month or a year? In 7-8 years, I need to replace 15,000 square feet of carpet. Well, that's data that we have already, and if we put numbers to it that, hey, it costs 50 cents per month to vacuum a square foot of carpet, based on your maintenance team you may have, you're going to be able to take that data and start to go projections on how much it costs you to maintain this building, just vacuuming carpet. Add in all the other expense, the total cost of ownership items, and this stuff is just being generated. I don't have to be the one who enters this information. The district doesn't have to be the one entering the information. Third party can hold that data someplace else. So it's just the gathering and pulling together of all that information and data. In this case here, we went through and we verified the mechanical electrical system. So here we're just looking at, hey, there are rooms that had occupancy sensors. Which ones had them, which ones don't. Our next level of that we want to get into here is linking to the sensors themselves so we can see if they're on or not. So you can see that somebody's in a room because the occupancy sensor turned a light on. You'll know the light is on, and depending on the setting on the occupancy sensor, if it's 10 minutes, 15, or an hour, somebody's been in that room. You're going to see on the sheet that somebody's been in that room. So College of Marin, we were asked to undertake some of the similar. We had a lot of existing information from some previous master planning and facilities assessments that were done. But some investigation will show us how we can do this, and the interesting side of it was, let's look in a new building and let's look in an existing building. So again, we created BIM models of each of those plans. I'm sorry, this is really pretty dark here. So we created, we said to the district, well, let's take that new building, the science math building, and let's take the existing learning resource center. Let's use these as the case studies to look at and investigate with us. Not, hey, we're going to go in and we're going to be able to bing, bang, boom, get you all this information. Investigate with us how we can make this happen. What data do you have? Let's look at this information. What can it tell you? So we had a new building and an existing building. So this is the new science and math building. So we did a lot of the similar things. We went into that building. This building is under construction right now, but we had all the schedules that were in the construction documents. We had all of the equipment schedules. Any schedule that was in there, we grabbed that data. We're able to plug it into our BIM model. Here you're seeing, we know what the floor finishes are in those spaces. So again, very similar to what we had done at Solano. In this case, now it's much more attuned to a new building. It's not even built yet, but we know what the finishes are going to be. We then also have all those mechanical systems. So we've used the COBE standard for documentation of all the systems in the building. So we've got tables of information that were plugged into the Onuma database that's now creating tables like this, so we have this information, but I can at any time, we'll show you this live, grab something on one of those tables and see, or the mechanical unit, click on it and bring that information up. I'll show you that in a minute. Here's an example of what you'll see. So by clicking on a mechanical unit, We get a dialog box up that tells you what the unit name is, what it may look like in this case, links, as you can see at the bottom here, links to similar instances of that device in the building. And, I skipped it. Also, the fact that we've got the manuals scanned for that unit. So we had all the warranties and manuals. We've scanned those. We linked it to this. So by clicking on the bottom there where it said manual, it brings up the manual. So it's in the database, or linked to the database. I'm going to switch over. Bear with me as I do this because we did accidentally close our browser. Switch over to look at the Marin campus so that I can show you.
I'll say a few words.
Sure, please.
What's significant about what Rob's going to show you right now is we just got this link literally at like 3 o'clock this morning. I'd never seen it before. It was web services, his team, and I don't even know who else worked on it. I don't even know their name, but somebody created a link to sensors in the building. My team, Thomas in Hawaii, last night created the link and said, let's show it today. So it's on the fly, pulling a lot of really complex data, including live sensor data, connected to Fusion, connected to GIS, connected to the work that you saw earlier, all coming together in any interface you want, including on an iPad or iPhone or on a desktop like this. So that's what you're going to see right now. It's a very significant piece because it's actually happening. We're not faking any of this. It just kind of came together last night.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, I was telling some people as we were getting ready for today, is that my presentation's not ready because I don't know what I'm going to have by tomorrow to show you. So because we're live and I don't have my screens prepared, I'm going to walk you through what I'm doing here. So this is the site plan of the Kenfield campus, and these are the buildings with the Fusion data linked to them. So clicking on any one of these buildings, I get to the Fusion level of data that I was just showing you, whether it's the programs, the size of the spaces, what the type of space it is. I'll zoom in. This is the new science and math building. Bob's sitting here, and he hasn't even seen some of this stuff yet because it just happened yesterday. It's now taking us into the floor plan view.
By the way, this is all coming through an iPhone, phone here. We have a phone connection. We don't have a connection to the internet. All this stuff that you're seeing live is streaming through this Verizon wireless card with it.
And as you say that, it's slowing down.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of slow.
Okay, so this is that floor plan, and you can see throughout the building there's blue and green and red dots. These are actually pieces of equipment that we've located. And again, we were studying. So some cases these are fire poles. Some cases they're light fixtures in the room. Some cases they're exhaust fans. But we were, again, grabbing information. We didn't know in some cases what we were going to do with it. In fact, I was joking with somebody yesterday. I asked the College of Marin for some cost information on maintenance, what the cost of their maintenance folks are. Well, what do you need that for? Well, I don't know yet. It might be able to compile that data and to show us what the costs are to maintain the buildings. But in this case, we had all the information out of the construction that was happening on site. This is the pump room. There's a geothermal on the site, so and this is actually this portion of this building is the central plant for the campus. So these are all actually units. I showed you that table that you saw, that Kobe standard matrix. These are those units. All that information is actually linked to these units themselves. And by clicking on any one of these pieces of unit, in this case I'm clicking on the room again. I'm going to go into that room to get into some more detail. It's going to bring up that room, show all those pumps that are in there, and now I can actually interact with the pieces of equipment that are in there. So I'm going to click on this heat pump here. This is that table I was showing you in the presentation. We've got a link to the data that's coming, that we entered into the system. It's coming up. It's showing you what that thing looks like, a little bit more information about it, any of the attributes that we want. If I were to click this, it would bring up all the manuals. I can click on the manual to show me what the manual are and the information that we've entered, and in some cases linked to manufacturer's information, what their website is, who the contact is, what's their phone number, what are the belts that need to be replaced, how often do they need to be replaced. But this is what Kimon was talking about. So we've created now a link to another third party. This is connecting to their energy management system. So this is that heat pump in that room right now, and it is not running. Yesterday when I linked on, this morning I should say, yesterday in the morning, when I linked on it, it was spinning. So I had a graphic here that was showing me a little symbol of it spinning to tell me that it was on. I did not want to do that. I don't know what my capabilities are yet. So, but I'll show you in a second here. So, well, we joke about that, but Kimon actually has some links to some facilities down south where we have a light fixture in a room, and we can turn the light on and off. And there's been people in the room, I understand, that have sometimes been, who's doing that? Hey, look at it. It's running. So it's now turned on and running. You can see the temperature in the space. This is the pump room. It's 65 degrees in that pump room. The set point's 71. So Bob, just so you know, that's what's going on in your pump room in the building right now.
And Rob, to add on to what he's saying here, I just brought up on this screen here everything outside of this, all the geothermal system that ties to this. We've got it all. We just did most of this last night, still updating a little bit of it, but it's the whole thing in Google Earth.
That's another disruption that's happening. Commissioning in the past, you went through with a clipboard and you start collecting data. Commissioning today is on iPads connected to this data. If I'm talking about that piece of equipment, I pull that piece of equipment, just like I'm making that Delta flight. I'm not buying an American Airlines flight, I'm buying Delta and I'm paying this much for it. Same thing here. It's saying, I'm touching this equipment and here's what I'm noticing happening in a commissioning scenario. And that just becomes another piece of data, just like it's in that table that gets attached to that. So now you have the design intent that came from the FPP and the district making its way through the design and construction, going to commissioning, and that thing that Fred said the other day of costs plummet. This is where the costs plummet because we know how inefficient things were done in the past. We just don't have any more time for that nonsense. We just want to cut to the chase and get the work done, and that's commissioning and going into operations is just huge. If we don't get a handle on this, we're not going to reduce energy use and all the other problems that we have in the world.
So I'm going to switch out of that fun stuff because I want to go through one more case study. And Joe Nugent's here from Cabrillo in the back. What I've been asked to do is undertake a space inventory. And as we scratched our head for a second and things that we were involved with, they said, well, Joe, would you entertain our actually connecting this to the Fusion Onuma database? And there was some passion to do that, and so that's what we've started to investigate. So I wanted to, this is just a quick screenshot of that. I need to use this. Of the Cabrillo Campus, and then we've created BIM models then. So we went out into the site. In some cases, the campus had some BIM information, CAD information, so we utilized that. Went out to the site, went into each room, made sure that the room numbers were correct, looked at the room use. So we started to compile that data. We've grabbed the data from the district on the scheduling of those spaces, so we can start to do the normal space inventory update. But in this case, we're putting it into the Onuma and Fusion database wholesale. So there are going to be changes that are going to be able to happen in pull-down menus that are going to be able to allow us to provide and upload back to the Fusion database. So it's kind of, we've got the data, we're going to change it, and we upload it back up to the Fusion database, correct it. So we're coordinating with the foundation on allowing us a little more time, if you will, so we can get into that data, practice it out a little bit. Right now, Onuma is working with us on fine-tuning the software so that the language between the two on updating that inventory can be seamless, so that you can get that button that says, okay, I've changed this room from one use to another, and I'll show you live in a second here. Change the room use from a lab to a classroom, or 210 to 310, and okay, go, upload it and get it up there. So that's something we're investigating right now too. I'm going to switch over to it live here, and hopefully I can talk while I'm doing it at the same time. But what we're really excited about is that all of the different facets of what you do day to day at the district have opportunities to connect to third-party applications, connect to data information in new ways that are only providing you the information that you need at that time.
I'll say a few words as you're switching.
I appreciate that.
So another very important point, and you've seen these presentations before of BIM, these very detailed BIM models that you can walk through. We're doing that as well. But what's important is those very detailed models sometimes are too heavy for a typical user that wants to do maintain that piece of equipment. So you want to have both. You want to have the lightweight model, and the detailed model, and you want them to be linked with the same IDs. That's what's happening here. We're showing you the lightweight models, and the lightweight models are perfect to connect to Fusion because Fusion is lightweight and has a lot of data. And having these two worlds come together, at least when you're going around with an iPad, you're talking about that same equipment that is on the lightweight model that is in the Revit MEP model if you use Revit, for example. So both worlds are important. It's not one or the other. It's both together. There's a lot of confusion about, well, which one's better do we want, this software or that software? It's not about the software. It's about your data moving between different applications and you being able to own that process and use any tool you want to make it happen.
So below here that you just saw me click through is the Cabrillo Campus. I've just clicked on the 600 building, and you can see there's some information there that's coming out of Fusion. And if I were to get into this building itself and open it up, again, we've created BIM models, and I think it's important to say that we don't have to create BIM models. We can use PDFs, and in fact, we did a test at the Indian Valley campus at Marin where a building that we had undertaken there, we just took a PDF of the building, brought it into the Onuma system, and put the spaces on top of the PDF. So you don't have to have a BIM model. It's certainly a little more accurate, but we were still able to go, okay, well, there's that space and on the PDF, and let's put that room 210 on top of that space so I can see where it is relative to the floor plan. So there's the floor plan of building 600, clicking on classroom number 615, and I can start to get into some of the attributes of that space. I am not in edit mode right now. If I were switched over to edit mode, maybe I'll do that real quick here. Nice thing about the software too is that unless you switch to that edit mode, everything's just view. So you're just looking at stuff. In the edit mode, you are changing things. Now it's not live. It is live. It's gathered data from Fusion, but any change I make won't update until we click that button. And that's what we're working with Onuma and the foundation on to make sure that that interface is seamless. So you can see the room here, the room number, and I can go in. I can change room 615, Joe, to 620 if you'd like right now. The space that's in there, and this is what's important to me, is as we go through some of these spaces and we're walking into a room or we've got the BIM model or the floor plan now, we know that that's not 1288. It may actually be 1150 square feet. That's a correction we'd want to make. That's the point of the space inventory. But the nice thing about this too is that once we get this accomplished, space inventory is going to be much easier in the follow-on years because the accuracy of information that will have developed here. And there won't be wholesale changes like we may have here now to make this correction. In the future, it's like, oh yes, in building 600, we combined 2 rooms to 1. We need to make that change and go into the interface, graphically see that room and make that adjustment. Delete a space, which the foundation then sees as that space has been removed, but room number 615 is now twice the size. They'll see that change. So the attributes. So in this case here, you can see some of the information with regards to the other things we could be putting into the space about the air changes and balances and level of detail that we're not interested right now. Going through things live here, so bear with me. So I could change the name of the building. I'm not finding my display. The room data, the program. Oh, I back out one.
So while you're doing that, is this a
Yeah.
system that the personnel at a community college district can be doing this with their own staff?
Yes.
On the system, they acquire software to do this, or how do?
You'll see there's actually a presentation right after this that shows other districts, like what's happening at South Orange County Community College District, of how this gets delivered. That's the other key thing about this. It's not just doing the work and handing over a PDF. It's doing the work, handing over an engine that then the staff can maintain and update. And it dramatically drops the time it takes to update the Fusion data, for example. So and the amazing thing about what Rob's team's been doing as an architect, they're working on projects, master planning and design, which in the past, now here's this disruption that's happening. The delivery now is not just, well, here's your master plan, here are your plans. It's here are your master plan, here are your plans, but here's an engine of all your data that you can continue to maintain, whether we do it or not. We're not threatened by sharing that information in the that's been paid for basically as the work's being done. It should be maintained.
So just real quick, there's the pull down for that classroom now. If I wanted to change that room use from a 110 to something else, I now have a pull down in order to do that. And then again, that interface that we're working on right now is that, so when I do that and I'm ready for it, clicking it here will upload it to Fusion in a way that the foundation wants to see it. Because right now, there would be so many changes. Again, it could be a square foot change of 5 square feet. That's a change. So it's going to be a wholesale swap out in some spaces. So we want to make sure that the foundation is going to get that in a way that they're comfortable seeing that wholesale swap out. That it's not, well, room 110 is now 5 square feet. There's going to be a list of the whole building and what those adjustments are, and some of them can be pretty small. So I'm going to stop there. Just to tag on to what Kimon was saying, this has been a very, very interesting place for us as architects, because a lot of people have said, well, we're the building designers, we take the programs or the plan. This is a level of information that our clients as architects want and, more importantly, need. And we see that as our job to help them find ways to access this information much more easily, especially now. Our thinking behind this and why we jumped into this so quickly was we looked at the community college and saw there was not going to be funding out there for some districts for some time. And if they had to make some adjustment within their facilities, even if it was just roofing, that money had to come out of the general fund. So, and that's probably a bad example, but you get the analogy. So if that money wasn't coming out of the general fund, how do we make sure that the operations of the college can be that much more efficient so that money can be there for them to do that? We saw the opportunity in doing this, and so saw as architects, planners, and designers, and helping our clients manage their things, that this was something we wanted to be able to help our clients do. And I see architecture moving into that point where we need to be providing that to you, to your districts, so that you can have that information at your fingertips. Now, going back to where do we start, all of this started with, again, the basics, linking to the Fusion data. It can start as basic as linking to or creating a floor plan. You can use a PDF, graphically in Onuma, taking that and plopping that space on top of it, or grabbing that space and linking it to your BIM model. And you can be done. You're connected to the Fusion. You're seeing the data graphically. In this floor plan, in fact, it's something we haven't fixed yet. Off to the side here, all these boxes are Fusion data that didn't fit in the floor plan. That has to be fixed. We've got a number of spaces over here that Fusion says the district has. Well, they don't, because it doesn't fit in the floor plan. So where is that space if it's not in this building? Right now it's tied to that floor plan. So at the most basic level, that's a type of correction that you can make. And just to, pull down over here, I can do show me what Fusion says I have versus what fits in the floor plan. And you can see the reds and greens, and this is something our team is working on right now, going into each building and fixing. So that we can say, actually, that orange space there that's over by 5%, let's fix that square footage in the pull down that I showed you and upload it back to Fusion. And when we get done, all the buildings will be green. So I'll stop there. We've shared a lot of different examples, and that's really what our intent was today, just kind of show you where things are going and where they're at. I'll give Fred a few minutes to summarize, wrap up.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm in awe. I'm in great appreciation. Again, there's such a strength in experts in their field coming together and joining forces. It's much stronger than the individual parts. And so I guess my question to all of you is, how does it feel to be disruptive? I mean, for me, I'm usually the upstart in the room, and being disruptive comes naturally. But this notion of, as a system, creating this ecosystem that allows for these possibilities. Now, what you've seen here is just one slice, one snippet in the areas that have been focused on right now that is possible. I'm interested in hearing from all of you, and again, having this opportunity and coming together from your perspective. What are the other ways that this can be applied and can be useful? We believe this has such potentiality and benefit in terms of being this disruptive ecosystem. I mean, just the parts that I can comprehend in terms of having live layered data. How revolutionary is that? Having the ability to basically link it through web services and considering in an open standards environment how to use that data and grow it. And again, it's about the data. I mean, I want to kind of touch upon, Allison's questions here. It's really about the data and the structuring of the data and the use of the data. It's no longer about having a mainframe or what particular software you're using. It's having a basic browser, having, iPads, having that portability and that ability to then start thinking, going down the path of M&O. So, you're getting your budget slashed on an M&O basis because you're usually the first things to cut in a budget crisis. But, there is a certain demand, especially if you have new buildings, that people want to have a certain amount of functionality in the building. Like, would you like to have toilet paper in that building? Or would you like to have the toilets cleaned? Or what particular place do you want to go from there? Having the ability to gather the data and make data-based decisions is really what's going to be compelling, what this is all about. So, there's a lot of pizzazz and a lot of potential. I'm interested in hearing from all of you what it means to you and how this can be applied, because the more this platform allows for collaboration and partnership. It's inclusive, it's not exclusive. And the more that people see this and apply it from their frame of reference and bring in best practices from their point of reference, that's our R&D. That's how we grow this. And I mean, just as an example, when there were faculty and student services people in a room, I think it was at South Orange Community College District, and all of a sudden the various people, the deans and whatnot, are looking at this and going, well, we could use this for class scheduling. We could use this in a variety of other areas. And so from a frame of reference, it grows in that particular way. So there's, in one sense, there's no real entrance, if I could use the term fee. I mean, there's a minimal licensing cost, which you just blink at. But, it's a matter of being able to use this and grow it. And keep in mind, again, what we're doing is freaking amazing, not only within our system, but as I know, Kimon goes around to different, groups within, the built environment around the country. I think sometimes around the world, that this is leading, if not bleeding edge stuff. So again, I congratulate all of you for your continuing support of Fusion and use of Fusion. But again, we've always thought of Fusion as being a platform to grow, to satisfy even more than just state reporting needs. And so again, I stop with this in the notion, we have plenty of time here between now and 10:30 to create a discussion and for me to learn what are the other ways that this can be, used from your perspective. Because again, it's not just these stars. The stars are meant to be throughout the whole room. So with that in mind, what thoughts do you have in terms of other ways of applying this or how to further grow it? Yes. Wow. Okay. Right. Wow. Life cycle and total cost of ownership types of decisions. Yes, definitely. Energy, I think, is a big area. Yes.
One thing that came to mind for me is having worked with a client who was really concerned about theft prevention and access to buildings. With swipe card entrances for the faculty and for the no crew, when they're entering and exiting a building, to
Mm-hmm.
be able to not only track who's going in where, but when you're linking that data to equipment and where it is, being able to time it, you'll know based on the data that's linked here by tying in the access to the building with the swipe card system, who went into what building when, to reduce theft prevention for security purposes. Who was in the building and then who entered the building. If anything happened, you got a finite group of people that you're dealing with that you have to, look to see
Outstanding idea. I mean, that whole idea of campus security in terms of the plans, in terms of for you know, those bad situations you always have to plan for. This is definitely the ability. Yes, sir. Yes. That. Yes. And what's neat is that this is a dynamic model. It's just not a static model that's used for one. You've created a tool that's can be highly accurate. That could be an ongoing tool with this construct, and that's what's to me very exciting. But again, as Luciano was talking about, you know, the whole idea of energy, being able to monitor energy use. I mean, we had an interval metering, which is like really old news now, but interval metering pilot in a couple districts, and just by one measure monitoring energy usage over nights and weekends, just by that one measure, able to create, I think, up to 40% energy savings just from that one measure. And just, you know, having kind of a continuous commissioning capacity and the ability to do it easily, not burdensome for staff, is definitely a need. And again, what we're on the verge of, as I mentioned in, you know, the other, I was double booked for presentations with the CCIOU partnership, is that we've got, I'm talking with my friends in the legislature, and, you know, with Prop 39 passing, we have, you know, they're looking to park tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars for energy efficiency in our system in order to get us to net zero, as close to net zero as possible in terms of energy usage, in order to provide, you know, relief to operations budgets. And so, but, you know, it's, nothing is free, but you get having the data to show both you have the responsibility, the maturity to handle this, but a system to both be specific on what the needs are, if not the ongoing benefits, that's going to be huge. And you know, again, the idea of monitoring through this system, it's a big enough umbrella for all this can hang from. Okay, other ideas, again, from your frame of reference, sir. Yep. Or very upset CEO over the budget, or, you know, something like that. Yeah. And again, ongoing use. The more that you can think of, to me, it's mind stretching, for me especially, of the dynamic aspect of it. Creating a simple BIM, it doesn't have to be overly burdensome BIM, I was talking about, and creating these ongoing dynamic models that could be there for using technology to fill in the gaps and do the right thing. Yes. Yes. Because again, exactly, and, you know, having that ongoing kind of feedback cycle built in so that the data is fresh and real, and, you know, as you have the pressure for salaries and benefits on a campus, which is realistic when it's 85-90% of the operating budget, and folks are looking for places to cut, if you can come, and again, districts who have been, you know, aggressive, and the, you know, the staff have been aggressive at showing database, if this is what you want in an outcome and this is what you can do, we can, you know, this is what you need to invest in this area to, in the very least, protect your operations M&O budgets, if not build upon them. You know, whole other area we've touched upon, I think, briefly, but just overall capital outlay planning. I mean, this is huge in terms of being able to provide tools for, you know, again, the thought behind Fusion was always to allow districts to be empowered to develop, you know, the IPPs, and more specifically the FPPs. Maybe you can't do 100%. I think probably with a little bit of skill you could, but you could be getting 80% of the way there as an owner and be a very good client for your design professionals, who can then pick up that ball and specifically respond to your specifics that you provided through this tool. Other ideas? Yes, ma'am. What a great idea. Well, you know, this whole idea of, hopefully you've got the sense of, there's layers of security, layers of access that can be built in all of this. And, you know, for those who are worried about somehow, you know, Department of Defense secrets are going to leak, you know, that can be built in. But I mean, we really need to get to a place of sharing the data and having that, you know, that ability to, you know, and I've only scratched the surface of that possibility. I'm sure Kimon has some ideas on that. But the more that we're able to share the data among ourselves, with your design consultants. I know there's vendor fatigue out there for districts and whatnot, but again, this is a way of being very laser-like in terms of getting the types of, you know, proposals and whatnot that are specifically geared to what you need, not just, you know, wasting your time. But come on, you have some
I
thoughts?
just want to add a couple of thoughts to that relating to sharing information. And Fred touched on this earlier, but the work that's being done here in California, we're the leaders in the world as far as technology goes, right? That's kind of like a slam dunk. So why can't we apply it to the building industry? And others are looking in at what's going on right here with this work, like the Department of Defense. We have a new contract with the Department of Defense and VA nationwide looking at fusion and saying, why can't we manage hospitals and healthcare like that? We're actually reaching out to see who in the industry can give us input on that. So the concept of sharing and layering information, it's not, I'm surprised we haven't got this question yet. It's on the web so everybody can get to it. That's not the case. The case is that there's ways of actually deciding who gets access to what. And that actually empowers you as an owner to decide who should get that information. And one point, kind of going back to your question of where do we start, where you can start is the work that you're doing right now. Because I've talked to, I'm an architect, I've talked to architects, I know the architects out there are doing work in BIM. Even if they're not doing work in BIM, they're still using CAD. There's ways for you as an owner to adjust your deliverable just slightly and say, if you adjust how you format your data, it's going to feed right back in just like what Rob did. It's almost like there should be zero cost to that because that's the data already is there. So where you start is where you have right now. The worst thing to do is wait, because the longer you wait, this stuff just, we call it data rot. It just starts rotting. You get deliverables and you have it in plan rooms like
To that point, in putting the science math building in here with all that data, we missed the window by about that much where we could have had the design team format all that data for us, put it into the Excel spreadsheets for us. We missed it by that much. So we ended up doing it, but in that design process, next time, it'll flow right through. We want the room finish this way, and your room numbering this way, and it'll flow right in with, nobody has to do anything. Joe?
There's specifications that have been developed with the Foundation for California Community Colleges on things like that. Like how do we get deliverables in CAD? How do we get deliverables in BIM? How do we get deliverables if they're not using CAD or BIM at all, but you get a list of equipment? It's a very simple Excel file that says if you format it like this, it feeds back into the system. And Rob touched on Kobe, but that's kind of the message here is that this already exists. And this is actually pretty significant because even the work that we're doing with government agencies, DOD, they're all struggling with the same thing. They haven't gotten to this point yet because they're all kind of all over the place, but they're trying to say, well, how can we do this? So there's a very simple way to start that should not be painful. When it becomes painful when you get it in 20 different formats, then you have to recollect it again. That's when it's painful. We could send you a link if you drop us a card, and then we'll email it.
We can make it available.
Yeah.
Make it available easily. So, you know, I always get lost in the different layers and sub-layers, but I think, you know, based on the effort of getting this started, you know, about a year or so ago, I think all districts have their data through Fusion at a particular, like, level 1 or level 2. There's a very basic level, but the idea of bringing everybody up, the Fusion Steering Committee, again, keeping in mind Fusion is not a state system. I purposely did not design it that way because I didn't want to have that layer of nonsense going on. It's owned by all the districts, managed through the foundation. And the idea behind, and the Fusion Steering Committee, you know, a group of district leaders that help, you know, guide and, you know, the operation and growth of Fusion have decided that they want to, you know, put as a priority creating some kind of opportunity with private individuals and with students in order to, along the lines that, you know, Joe was talking about, in order to get this data input, to get, you know, the layered data that you have in terms of the simple BIMs created, your floor plans created, and then mesh that together. And so the idea is that we want to, and I touched upon it yesterday, but it was meant to be more than just a statement, but a question, that we're trying to organize through the foundation an opportunity, and this is for all of you private folks out there, in terms of sponsoring students and or maybe folks on your staff to work with students in order to getting all this input so that as a system we're brought up to a particular layer of functionality so districts can use this. So, you know, this is not organized in any particular way, but if you've thought about that, I'd be very much interested to, you know, connect with you and you know, get this thing moving so that in whatever way we can in our decentralized system, there's no top-down approach to this, providing this input for folks. If you've already got your plans digitized and matching this together, getting this going so that we can you can all benefit from this functionality, because it's, you know, it's something that is low cost in terms of, you know, basic licensure, you know, for a certain amount of the software, you know, I don't really know really the cost is, but it's something that you're going to blink at, and getting this functionality so that more people are working at both, you know, the 1,000 people that have Fusion accounts, if they can start working with this and understanding this and applying it and growing it, that's what we need to do. So I invite you to, you know, connect with, you know, John Roach and folks at the foundation to kind of explore that. Those are our best ideas of how we can expand this, and that's the desire of the Fusion Steering Committee. And, you know, we need all of your help. This is not, you know, one person doing it. It's coming together in our little decentralized confederation and keep this thing moving. Because again, it's a model that not just one person's going to benefit from. It's something that we're all going to be benefiting from, and creating the opportunity once the money starts flooding in again to keep that tap flowing. So I invite you to participate. Yeah, Rob.
Just as a segue, there's actually a presentation following this one that Kimon's running off to in a minute too. There's been a lot of excitement too about the work orders. That there's a lot of data behind that districts have to deal with, of things in and out of the work order. So the Onuma system itself does have a work order system within it, which is really exciting. It can also then link to third-party applications also to get that data. But just in that floor plan you saw up there, those colors actually could have been showing you things like show me rooms that have work orders. So there's a level of data. So in this next presentation, they're going to get into a little bit of that and show you some more of that. And I think
I was trying to get them. Yeah, here's it.
Kimon's putting up a link right now that uses the website to enter it.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in attending that one, if you go to this on your phone, you will get a website that will allow you to fill out a work order. And in the next session, you'll see your work orders on the screen.
On your plan. We're going to put it in Solano. So work orders that you submit here, this was a very simple application that we decided, okay, if we use Fusion data and we connect it to the Solano campus, here's how work orders can flow in. And we'll be showing this live at the next session right after this. And we'll be showing what other districts are doing as well, coming from different angles. Everyone has their own kind of angle on this, and it doesn't matter which way you come. It makes sense as long as we're kind of heading toward the same trajectory.
So we have about 1 minute left. Any last questions? Sir.
There have been other vendors and software companies and consultants that are focusing on that through the IOUs and other work. But yes, there have been discussions about that. Again, with web-based applications that do things like track energy and portfolio manager and all that, how do we connect the dots so we don't recreate that functionality? Right. And and you'll see some in the next session, but for example, if we have energy data and you have square footage of building and you have people in the building, and you have schedule of building, all of a sudden you have an interface that says, well, why are we using this energy like this? And what happens if there's a demand response event in the summer? Can we reschedule the classroom so we can shut this building down? Things like that are being discussed and looked at. So it's very exciting. We don't have all the answers. The message here is we really want to connect with whoever's out there, consultants, districts. We share everything we know. There's no secrets here. And that seems kind of odd sometimes to come from a consultant and say, we're going to tell you everything we know about what we do, because we have to raise the bar for the whole industry and the whole community college system.
And we welcome your participation.
I came from the New Orleans National DDIA, and more I see the transparency in the entire, I mean, from an ownership side, talk of bullying ownership to GCs, the A&E community, the transparency and trust, those terminologies are out there. And it's very, I mean, this is good. This is very good. I mean, in terms of taking it into the future and all, breaking down those silos.
Right,
So,
transparency is important.
Yeah, transparency is what it's about.
Yeah, the Coast Guard says transparency breeds self-correcting behavior. If you can't see the problems, they just stay under the carpet and they come back to bite you. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me.